Have you been waiting patiently for news and leaked specifications, pictures, images on the Canon EOS R1? Well, we've got news from a reliable source on the announcement date. Details coming up, but first, I encourage you to subscribe and choose all notifications so you're kept informed on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. I'm super excited about the Canon EOS R1. I've been shooting with a Canon EOS R5 for, well, the better part of 2 years now, and I really like its capabilities, but it's definitely got room for improvements, like not having to overheat, and Canon certainly fixed that with the R3, so we know that they can do that, and they eliminated those record limits. So from a video point of view, we've got a lot of opportunities. In the Canon EOS R1, the 1 series cameras, it always has the best stills camera, or the best stills capabilities of any camera in their lineup, in the stills hybrid lineup, but it also has the best video capabilities. So the Canon EOS R1 is definitely going to be better than the Canon EOS R5, the R3, and all other cameras it's come out with. But let's take a look to the competition. Sony released the Alpha 1 back in, it was January of 2020, and it went on sale, I think, just a couple of months thereafter. And then October the 28th, Nikon announced their full-frame flagship mirrorless camera, the Nikon Z9, with a whole bunch of really incredible capabilities. 8K video up to 60 frames per second, Apple ProRes 422 in 4K, and as far as stills capabilities, it could shoot up to 120 frames per second at around 11 megapixels, or it could push out 20 frames per second lossless RAW at 1.2 gigabytes per second. So a truly impressive camera. Canon's been watching, Canon's been waiting. They've been waiting for feedback on their cameras like the Canon EOS R3, but they've been watching the market and listening to what people have had to say about the Nikon Z9 and the Sony Alpha 1. Now let's talk about the date. So last year, Canon rumors said that we were most likely going to get an announcement later this year. That turned out to be, well, it changed to a development announcement later this year. Well, now, today, Canon rumors said that we should not expect to get the Canon EOS R1 anytime soon, as a retailer was told not to expect it until the second half of 2023. Okay, I know what this means. The second half of 2023 doesn't mean July, doesn't mean August. It means sometime between the second week of September up to the end of October. So that's most likely where we're going to get the announcement, the official announcement from Canon. And then when will it go on sale? Well, it could go on sale a week after, the same day, or it could wait a couple of months like Nikon did with the Z9, and it started shipping on December the 24th on Christmas Eve. So this is what we're seeing right now, and I know it's frustrating. I know it's very, very frustrating, and it shouldn't be a huge surprise. We've had so many disruptions to supply chains, inventory, materials, resources from multiple different sources. We've had issues in Europe. We've had global issues. And I don't think any of us on year 3 now are truly surprised. And I don't expect things to really get back to normal until around 2025. And that will just solve the inventory and parts problems. All the new fabs will be online. So as far as chips and semiconductors, those will have caught up. And now that travel is slowly getting back, and they're still working out issues there, because you see on a daily basis, you're hearing news about flights being canceled in Canada, the United States, and Europe because, well, it's hard to staff. They're trying to staff things back up again. They're getting their business back up. So once we start to see more people traveling, people start using services more, people spend a little bit less time and money purchasing goods. And of course, they're now predicting that we might be entering in a recession, so that will slow things down as well. So that will give us a chance to get caught up when it comes to cameras and materials we'll start producing. Anyhow, it's enough rambling about all the issues in the marketplace. You're aware of what's going on. I don't need to tell you. What I'm really looking forward to is leaked specifications on the Canon EOS R1. Based on this new date timeline, I really don't expect any leaked specifications to come out right now, with a year and 2 months away from a possible announcement. And those dates could get pushed once again. I wouldn't be surprised if the camera gets announced in January of 2024. If you remember back to 2020, that is when Canon announced the 1DX Mark III. So wait to 2023 for a 1 series camera. To wait 3 years isn't all that unheard of. Normally we have to wait 4 years, but there is pressure from Sony and Nikon, both having released their full-frame mirrorless cameras. Sony a year ago, almost a year and a half ago, and Nikon in October. So there is pressure from both of those two companies, and of course their customers, saying, where is this Canon EOS R1? But as many of you are in the know, Canon doesn't rush things to market. They want to make sure they get things right. They want to make sure they get the feedback from the customer base that this camera is aimed at. They're listening to what Canon EOS R3 customers are telling them, but they're also watching to see how the Sony Alpha 1 is received, how the Nikon Z9 is received. And I really hope that if we take a look at the Nikon Z9, we see all the capabilities of that camera, which are truly amazing. We look at the Canon EOS R5, the R3, and we basically take those three cameras, put them in a melting pot, boil them up, and come up with something a little bit better. I think we may have a truly, truly amazing camera. Now, I have talked about the possible specifications we might see in the Canon EOS R1 in this video here. It's a 30-minute long video, and the reason for that is I go back to the very first EOS 1 camera, and I spend about 2 minutes on each camera all the way up to the 1DX Mark III, and then I spend about 10 or 12 minutes talking about the expected specifications that we see on the Canon EOS R1. I looked at Sony Alpha 1, the Nikon Z9, I look at the Canon EOS R5 and the R3 to come up with what I think to be a really solid picture of what the Canon EOS R1 could be. The only thing missing is the price, and maybe you can help me on that. So go ahead and watch this video here. If you really want to know the latest specifications on the Canon EOS R1, well, my forecasted specifications, and I don't think they're going to be too far off. In terms of video, are we going to see 8K at 120 frames per second? Are we going to see 4K 120 with more detail? Or will Canon even push that 4K 120 to maybe 240 or 180? We'll just have to wait and see. But one of the big issues for Canon right now is trying to get out other cameras. Due up first, before we get the Canon EOS R1 announcement, or even before that ships, there's a planned release of the Canon EOS RP successor. We don't know what it's going to be called. It's probably going to have an R designation such as the R9, and another camera that sits between the Canon EOS RP successor and the Canon EOS R6. Mid-price, mid-capable, probably somewhere around $1599 to $1699, or maybe even $1799. And of course, we've been hearing about this since 2020. Actually, no, going back to 2019, a high megapixel 5 series camera. Initially, that was going to be a 5D Mark V S or RS. Well, it now looks to be a camera that's going to be based off of the Canon EOS R5, 100 plus megapixel camera. So we're looking at 3 to 4 cameras before we get to the R1. I think the main thing right now is to just kind of sit back, relax, understand that the Canon EOS R1 isn't going to come to the market anytime soon. And most likely, we're not going to hear any rumored specifications on that camera. What we're going to keep hearing anytime I put out a video on the Canon EOS R1, what you're most likely to get is an update on the timeline. And right now we're looking at 2023, but I wouldn't be surprised. You can mark this down. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get the announcement in early 2024, such as January, and it go on sale, or you can pre-order in January, and then it'll start shipping maybe March timeframe, or maybe even later. But I'm tired of all these delays. I'm tired of everything that's going on. I would love to go to Japan, go to New Zealand, do some traveling. But everything I'm hearing in the news right now, flights being canceled, hundreds of flights being canceled every month, all sorts of issues, people being short-fused. I don't want to be part of that group. I want to wait a few years for things to settle down. Honestly, I don't want to wait. I want to travel. I want to get out there. But I think for my own sanity, I'm just going to wait for things to settle down. The world's going through a bit of a crazy place. We've had a couple of really crazy years. But if you do want to stay up to date on the latest camera news and information, especially when it comes to the Canon EOS R1, go ahead and subscribe, but please make sure you choose all notifications. By choosing all notifications, as soon as I publish a video, YouTube's going to notify you so you can stay up to date on the latest camera news and rumors. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.